Saturn transiting the Moon. This transit can be either quite short for about 1 month, when Saturn passes just once, aspects the Moon just once, or it can last for up to 8-9 months if Saturn transits the Moon 3 times, once when it's moving forward, once when moving backwards, and once when forward again. And this is when the real important transits of Saturn to the Moon will happen. And usually this will be once in 7 or 14-year transit. Especially the longer ones might be once in 14-year transit, 14 years, and it will be quite a memorable time in your life, and as I said, with the lasting period of around 9-10 months altogether. But even if it's for 1 month, these are the influences that you can notice and the changes and energies in your life. A Moon rules your emotional well-being, how you perceive the world, the kind of lens through which you see the world, so your personal well-being, emotional well-being, how you're feeling about things, how you perceive world, how it's basically in a world, your individual awareness of the world. The most important planets for happiness, for inner peace, for contentment, because if you notice the world in gray shades, no matter what is happening to you, you feel miserable, and when Saturn comes around, Saturn tends to lower vibrations always. It's a bit more oppressing influence. So when it aspects the Moon via opposition, square, the more difficult aspect, this is when somehow your perception of the world gets darker, and you start viewing the world through darker shade colored glass, or through gray, or imagine those more negative tones of the colors, and you start all of a sudden you might feel quite lonely, quite dejected emotionally, quite separated from others. Even if you're surrounded by others, you might just feel detached from the environment. You might feel detached from your own feelings as well. And that's why, because the Moon shows emotional attachments, and in relationship in particular, it's so important in relationship. When Saturn makes a hard aspect to it, a person might start feeling that might start noticing that they're detaching emotionally from a relationship which is no longer relevant in their life, that they're detaching emotionally from other people. Or the other negative things can happen is that if they're not giving this space and this detachment which Saturn normally requires from the person when it's aspecting the Moon, and if they don't give themselves some self-introspection and turning into themselves, analyzing their thoughts, and usually and analyzing those attachments they have, are they healthy or unhealthy, what happens is that Saturn can test your relationships and emotional attachments through outside influences. So the partner might need more space, or the partner might leave you, or someone might emotionally, hurt you or detach themselves from you. So it's either from within yourself, you do this, or you project those energies and another close person to you does it to you. And a relationship can be tested, or a person can disengage themselves from others somehow more, and often person can search for more solitude, especially people who are more spiritually inclined, more more introspective. They'll go through this period with much more ease, because Saturn requires more solitude and this disengagement from others, and detachment and self-observation, and they'll have more easy time of that. But people who are more extrovert, who find it much more tasting, and they'll feel negative, and they'll feel like something is dampening their mood, and they'll feel like a bit of a wet blanket during those more intense transits, but the period is very good for self-analysis, withdrawing into yourself, thinking about your attachment, emotional, and habits. The Moon rules your habits. So when Saturn is around, you might be resisting some change of habits, because Saturn wants you to have more self-control, and maybe to change some old habits which are no longer productive. So initially, to pay attention for you to this, it might increase the negative effects of those old habits, so it can become more painful for you. So you have to show more self-control over yourself, because the self-criticism increases in yourself towards old habits and old modes of behavior, so you can change them. Saturn always does things because of pain or because you have to do it, not because you feel inspired all of a sudden. Saturn pushes you for more self-discipline and self-control and improvement through more painful circumstances, because it's the hard taskmaster, by either something happening which shows you in the wrong path, or by just you having had enough of a negative feeling within yourself, or negative impressions or moods. So you start trying to change the old habits, the old patterns, the moon rules, all those things, the old habitual automatic reactions to the world and habits that we react normally with. So Saturn wants you to pay attention to those, to become more aware of those, and to restructure them if necessary. So the only thing that I have to advise you, try not to succumb to negative moods and emotions, because a clairvoyant side shows that a person becomes more susceptible to attacks from negative thoughts, and thoughts are all over us in the atmosphere, just like radio waves are. And when Saturn is around, you're kind of like a magnet for more negative moods and states of the consciousness. The moon rules the moods, the emotional states, So Saturn, you can attract such more negative ones which have nothing to do with reality, and which make you think much more darker thoughts than actually is, and maybe depressions or such more extreme states can happen. The best way for this is prayer. Bring down light through prayer to Christ, or to the higher power, the way you understand it. And best other ways to deal with Saturn moods is being in nature, being more active physically, spending solitary moments, but moments in pure environment, as I said, like beautiful nature, like outside clean air. And some spiritual practices for people, visualization is good, because the moon is not an active planet, the moon is a receptive planet. So you cannot, when Saturn is aspecting it, you can't really start doing things to improve your moods and to improve how you feel about the world and how you know about yourself or the world, Basically, you can just try and be. Moon is a receptive planet, so it's a planet more visualization, so try and visualize better things. Music is the moon is the planet of music, so when Saturn is transiting it, try and listen to more uplifting music. Some classical music has a very harmonizing influence on the emotions and the emotional well-being of a person. Clairvoyant observation proves that certain harmonizing classical music really does harmonize, as I said, the finer bodies and thoughts of a person. Stay away from really sad modern music, or because it's not done with much awareness, a lot of the modern music, and it can have much more negative influence on the person than actually positive, because it's more astrally inspired, but that's quite complex matter. I'm not going to go into that. You need music and art, inspirational from a higher realms, and usually the safest bet is classical music, or some other more divinely inspired artists. But try and listen to music which harmonizes your mood, which levels them, which makes you uplift you somehow, and moon is the planet of the other way which can improve your moods is through as I said, it's music, it's visualization, it's more meditative states of mind, and more rather than the more active ones, like going and running or trying to get you and sort out your life together and do things from pushing yourself through actions. It's more like trying to sort out your mood from the inside, trying to somehow raise your vibrations from the inside, because the moon is a receptive, not an active planet, as I said. So maybe some music, a nice bath, a nice visualization, a nice return to positive memories, visualizing how things will turn out well. This helps quite a lot. Pampering yourself a little bit, nurturing yourself. The moon is nurturing. The moon is emotionally nurturing yourself. Don't keep company of negative people, not at all. Try and stay in the company of more positive people, uplifting people who nurture you, who show you emotional support, because often Saturn, while Saturn is around, the person might attract people who are more critical in their attitude to the person, and it's enough, the person is critical enough as it is about themselves already while Saturn is around. But it might be critical people who do it for the best of the person, so it's good to get the critical comments, to get the best of those critical comments or attitudes and learn from those rather than be close to those if they can help you. But try not to stay too long around such people, because they can really dampen your mood around this period. And the moon rules also the home, because it's your most private world of you, and the home is this area where you feel most at home, most relax with yourself. So often when Saturn is around, a person might make a relocation, move somewhere to a place, or have a lot of worries about their home and wonder, shall I move or shall I not? Where shall I stay? Because Saturn always brings some discontent, some tests to do with the moon, and in some cases it can be some changes with the home and the environment of the person around, and the moon also rules females and female energy and the mother. So it can be, in rare cases, not always, but there can be problems with the mother if there has been if you've been having problems in relationship with your mother that you've been sweeping under the carpet. When Saturn comes, it'll come to the surface, so you have to sort them out. There might be some cooling off of relationship between you and the mother. And it's an opportunity for you to fix those, because they become more critical, they come more to the surface, and all separation for parental figures as well, from the home, from the place of birth. This can happen moving away from there, becoming more self-sufficient, self-reliant. Saturn wants to teach you self-reliance, self-sufficiency, rather than, the moon shows the support one, gets emotional or financial material from others, and Saturn disconnects you from that. So you can rely on new sources, you can find new sources of emotional or financial, any kind of support, or you can find those sources best within yourself, so you rely mostly on yourself. Often people will withdraw on their own rather than wait for circumstances to push them in that direction, which is the best way, if you work with the energies from within yourself rather than wait for circumstances to force you there. But if it happens that forces that outside your force to change place of living disconnect from closed ones, or closed ones disconnect from you, just be patient. Saturn wants to teach you patience and wants to teach you self-sufficiency. Realize that it's a process of maturation and growth emotionally. The moon is emotion. Saturn wants to teach you to be emotionally mature, and emotionally mature people are people who no matter what the circumstances around them is, no matter if there are people who support them or who don't support them, which is usually what the case is when Saturn is around, that they can hold their own, that they can stay emotionally stable, that they can stay self-reliant, and without getting depressed, without losing themselves in negative ruminations and twists. So Saturn wants to teach you to do this when it's aspecting the moon. It's give you a chance to mature, to prove yourself that you're emotionally stable, self-reliant, mature person. As I said, the moon can symbolize women, so sometimes they can be tests in relationship with women in your life, especially if you're a male person. The women in your life can be, or the wife in your life can be, a source of tension. She might be unhappy, or she might be going through a Saturn period herself. She might be going through some depression, through some negativity. Or because often male project the feminine energy through their partners, while women often experience it deeply within themselves. So women are more, women own their own moon, which is a feminine energy, while men project it. So for men, this period they're going through Saturn transit to the moon, they can experience that these problems are happening in the lives of the close women in their life. The moon also symbolizes, I said, moods, females, the home, personal experiences, how you're feeling emotionally about yourself, your ability to envision future, which Saturn can dampen a bit. So you have to learn to visualize better, to center yourself emotionally, to uplift your emotions, to heal yourself emotionally, to nurture yourself emotionally, even though the circumstances are just the opposite in that during this period, and the loneliness or sadness feels more predominant. And as I said, men often project those energies outside of themselves. Well, women experience them more personally, but men also, nowadays, men can also experience them within themselves because the sexes are equalizing. And I want to warn only women because the moon rules a lot of the, often rules the female health and the hormones of the woman. So they have to be more careful about their body during this period, pay attention more to their hormones and health because Saturn can tax those. And for men as well, but women in particular more tuned to the energies of the moon, the female body. Well, thank you so much. Please share with us what happened in your life when you had Saturn transit the moon. What outer experiences and events and what inner experiences? How did you mature emotionally? Did you become more self-sufficient, self-reliant emotionally? Did any relationship get tested? And emotional attachments, and how did you overcome them? What advice you have to others? I'm sure you have much better and objective of observations about the Saturn period than me, so you can contribute to others as well. Thank you so much.